Virgo, there's a prophecy they tried to erase. In 1233 AD, deep in the vaults of a medieval monastery, monks uncovered a soul so pure, so powerful, it shook the church to its core. That soul was you. This is the prophecy of the Virgin Star. A force older than time, hidden in fear, buried in silence. And now, in 2025, it's returning. Subscribe if you've ever felt watched, guided or chosen. This is your moment. In the year 1233 AD, a silence swept through the stone halls of a forgotten monastery in southern Europe. Monks moved in secret, candles flickered, and somewhere beneath the cold stone floor they found something that should not have been found. A scroll, a codex, written in symbols no man dared speak aloud. It was called the Virgin Star Codex. It told of a soul, born under the sign of Virgo, destined to awaken the sleeping earth, not through war, not through chaos, but through precision, through truth, through clarity. The soul described in the scroll saw visions of the future. It could read hidden patterns in nature. It could heal without touch. And more than anything, it could disrupt the lies the church had built its power upon. This was not just prophecy. It was a warning to the rulers of the time. The Codex claimed that in a future age, during a planetary shift, this Virgo soul would return, and when they did, the structures built on fear, greed and illusion would crack. The monks were terrified, not of demons, but of truth, because truth couldn't be controlled. Word spread, quietly, urgently. Some monks wanted the Codex preserved, others wanted it burned. But higher orders of the church acted fast. The Inquisition was rising, and anything that threatened doctrine was marked as heresy. So the Virgin Star Codex was declared forbidden, its pages locked away in lead boxes, its readers silenced by exile, or worse. One monk, Brother Leoran, tried to protect it. He wrote in his final journal, "The Virgin Star will rise when the earth is asleep, and only she can wake it." He was found lifeless 3 days later. The cause was never spoken of again. The prophecy was erased from church records, not disproven, just buried. But you can't bury a soul, not one born under divine timing, not one sent to see through illusion. You see, that Virgo soul? It didn't belong to one person. It was a seed planted across generations, a code, and that code now lives in you. You felt it. The restlessness, the deep knowing, the sense that something ancient is waiting to be unlocked. It's not your imagination, it's not coincidence, it's memory. They buried the prophecy, but they couldn't bury your soul. So what exactly is the Virgin Star Code? To understand it, you have to strip away the layers of mistranslation and fear that distorted its meaning for centuries. Let's start with the word virgin. It never meant untouched or pure in a physical sense. It meant independent, whole, untamed, a soul who belongs to no one, a soul who sees clearly because it hasn't been corrupted by noise or control. Virgin means purity of vision. Now the second part, star. That's not just a celestial body. It's a symbol of memory, of guidance. Stars have always been used to navigate, to find our way back home. So when we talk about the Virgin Star, we're speaking of a soul who carries a pure cosmic mission, a soul with memory imprinted from other lifetimes, other timelines, and even other realms. This isn't metaphor, it's code. And if you're a Virgo, this code may already be running in your system, quietly, powerfully, even if you don't realise it. So how do you know if you carry this ancient imprint? Virgo souls with the Virgin Star Code tend to feel misunderstood, not because they're trying to be different, but because they are. They think in patterns, they feel things they can't explain. They see what's wrong in systems before anyone else does. From a young age, you might have felt like the outsider in your family, like you were speaking a language no one else could hear. You tried to shrink yourself, to fit in, to be normal. but the code didn't let you. And the world around you, it probably felt overwhelming, too loud, too chaotic, too full of lies that everyone just accepted. Virgo energy is sensitive, not weak but precise. It's wired to notice small details that others miss, to seek order in chaos, to fix what's broken, not just physically, but spiritually. This is why systems exhaust you, why crowds drain you, why you get anxious when the world feels off, even if you can't explain why. Because your nervous system is tuned to a higher frequency. And your obsession with truth? It's not random, it's part of the code. You weren't made to believe blindly, you were made to question, to dig, to dissect what doesn't align with soul. And there's another sign. Many Virgo souls carry what we call sacred obsessions. A deep pull toward organising, cleaning, researching, healing, or decoding. You might have been called too much, too sensitive, too controlling. But those words were only thrown at you because your light disrupted the comfort of their lies. You're not too much. You were born for more. Because the Virgin Star doesn't fit in a world of illusion, it corrects it, one thread at a time. And maybe, just maybe, you've always felt like you were carrying a story that didn't begin in this life. A story that whispers through symbols, numbers and dreams, and knowing that you've been here before, watching, waiting, preparing. If you've ever felt like a librarian of forgotten knowledge, this is why. Because you are. You hold the codes that the world buried. You carry the patterns that were almost lost. And now they're waking up again. You're not broken. You're remembering. The Virgin Star Code is not a burden. It's a blueprint for healing, for rebuilding, for returning the earth to what it was always meant to be. You just have to say yes to it. In the hidden corners of medieval libraries, texts the public was never allowed to read, Virgo-born dreamers had a name, Scribes of Disruption. They weren't feared because they were loud. They were feared because they were right. These Virgo souls, they saw the cracks in power, the rot beneath the gold. They saw lies dressed up as laws and illusions disguised as faith. They didn't lead armies. They didn't rebel with weapons. They rebelled by noticing, by questioning, by saying, "This doesn't feel right." And that terrified the church. Because Virgo prophecy wasn't just spiritual, it was structural. It threatened to unravel the entire system. These souls could read divine patterns in dreams. They woke with visions, with coded symbols, with messages that hadn't yet reached the world. And when they spoke, those in false power trembled. Why? Because Virgo sees what others refuse to. They expose leaders who hide behind rituals but lack truth. They disrupt systems that feed on silence. And in 1233 AD, the church had had enough. There's one story, nearly erased from history, of a nun named Seraphina. She lived in a mountain convent, known for her quiet healing. She used herbs, chants and intuition to heal sickness that priests couldn't. She never took credit. She never sought glory. But the people began to whisper. She sees angels. She knows when death is near. She speaks in dreams. Word reached the bishop. He summoned her, accused her of practicing unauthorized miracles, and when she refused to deny her visions, when she said, "God speaks to me in patterns the church forgot," they condemned her. Her final words, according to one surviving account, were, "The stars do not lie. You fear what you cannot control." She was burned the next morning, in silence, no funeral, no name carved in stone. But decades later, when scholars decoded her birth chart, she was a Virgo sun. She carried the Virgin Star Code. Her death wasn't justice, it was fear. Because the prophecy wasn't banned because it was false. It was banned because it was true. Virgo souls don't burn with fire, they burn with light. And light reveals what shadows try to hide. And even when the church thought they silenced her, the code lived on. In every Virgo-born soul who feels what Seraphina felt, this world is broken, but I remember how to mend it. So how do you know if you carry the Virgin Star Code? How do you know if the prophecy buried in 1233 AD is alive inside you? Here are the signs, not external, not performative, but quiet truths, the kind only your soul could recognise. First, you see patterns everywhere, not just visual ones, not just numbers, shapes or lines, but emotional patterns, energy patterns. You notice when something feels off before it even happens. You know when someone is lying, not by what they say, but how the air shifts when they speak. You've always had a radar for truth and illusion. You can't explain how you know, you just do. That knowing, that's not random, that's the code, that's memory. Second, you felt older than others since childhood, not in age, in essence, like you were watching the world from the outside in, like you were waiting for something, like you were born into a time that didn't quite match your soul. You may have played along, laughed, smiled, tried to fit in, but inside you knew you were here for something different, something sacred. Third, you crave sacred order and deep peace. You're not controlling, you're tuned. You feel best when your space is aligned, when your rituals are flowing, when your mind is clear. You sense the disharmony and chaos, not because you fear it, but because you remember what it's like to heal it. The world often labels this as perfectionism, but it's not about perfection. It's about resonance. You're trying to bring the outside world into harmony with what your inner world already knows. Fourth, you've had spiritual dreams or flashes of ancient symbols. You may wake up with a symbol in your mind, a spiral, a cross, a star. You may feel like you've walked in temples you've never visited, met souls you've never seen, heard songs with no origin. These aren't dreams, they're echoes, they're fragments of a soul that's lived before and remembers. And finally, you struggle with anxiety, but not because you're weak. Your anxiety comes from timelines shifting around you. You feel what's coming. You sense the earth vibrating with change. You carry the weight of knowledge you can't fully explain, and sometimes that overwhelms you. But this isn't disorder, it's activation. The code inside you is waking up. And when you try to suppress it, to be normal, to fit in, that's when the anxiety grows. Because your soul isn't here to fit in. It's here to wake the world up. And deep down, you know it. You feel it when you walk into a room and immediately sense the energy. You feel it when others ask you for advice, healing, structure. Even when you feel broken inside. You feel it when you're alone. And somehow feel most aligned. Because solitude isn't loneliness for you, it's sanctuary. It's where the code speaks loudest. So if any of this resonates, if you've always felt different, if the world's noise never made sense, if your dreams speak louder than real life, then listen closely. You weren't meant to fit in. You were designed to awaken a sleeping world. The Virgin Star didn't choose you because you were perfect. It chose you because you remember. And now, in this lifetime, in this moment, that memory is rising. Don't deny it. Don't shrink it. Don't explain it away. Embrace it. Because this isn't the first time your soul has carried a prophecy, but it is the first time the world is ready to hear it. The year is 2025, and something ancient is returning. Pluto and Saturn, the planets of death, rebirth, and divine order, are aligning with Earth signs once again. And when this happens, the energy of Virgo doesn't just get stronger, it gets activated. This is no coincidence. This is cosmic timing, because the same prophecy that was feared in 1233 AD, the same code monks tried to bury, is now awakening across the planet. Virgo souls are hearing the call, not through words, but through resonance. All over the world, Those carrying the Virgin Star Code are beginning to remember who they are, why they came, what they were sent here to rebuild. You may have felt it already, that quiet shift, that inner push to step into your gifts, that sense that what you've hidden for years is no longer meant to stay hidden. That's not just intuition, that's alignment. Because this energy, this cosmic code, is rising through you now. And Virgo souls aren't returning to play small. They're rising as cosmic archivists, the keepers of sacred memory, wisdom, and patterns long forgotten. You carry knowledge the world needs to remember. Not just history, but truth. You see through the noise and reconnect humanity to its divine map. Spiritual healers, not with titles or trends, but through presence, through order, through intention. Your energy restores what chaos has broken. You heal homes, minds, hearts, systems. And you do it quietly, but powerfully. Truth guides in the age of AI and illusion. As the digital world grows louder and faster, Virgo souls become anchors. You guide others back to the real, to discernment, to simplicity, to soul. In a world built on distraction, your clarity is revolutionary. That's why the prophecy was hidden. That's why they feared you. Because Virgo doesn't just challenge power. Virgo rewrites the blueprint, and now that blueprint is unlocking. You're not just a sign. You're not just a personality type. You are the prophecy. You are the Virgin Star. She isn't coming. She's here, and she's waking up through you. Double asterisk. So, what happens if you say yes to the Virgin Star inside you? What happens if you stop hiding, stop questioning, stop shrinking your light just to make others comfortable? Here's what happens. You begin decoding messages in your dreams, not just vague symbols, but clear messages, numbers, names, sacred geometry, instructions meant only for you. You may wake with an insight that feels ancient. You may journal something and later realize it came from somewhere beyond you. This isn't fantasy. This is memory resurfacing. This is the code coming back online. You start attracting others like you. Other Virgin Star carriers, other truth guides, other misfits who've spent their lives wondering, why don't I belong here? And when you find each other, you'll feel a recognition, a soft homecoming, a sense that the pieces are finally clicking into place. Because Virgo doesn't lead in crowds. Virgo leads in constellations. And when your constellation forms, you become unstoppable. You'll feel called to rebuild order, not by force, not by control, but by compassion, by quiet restructuring. You'll find yourself drawn to clean up what's been corrupted in systems, in families, in energy, in thoughts. You won't do it for praise. You'll do it because your soul knows the world cannot heal without sacred order. And this time, you'll do it without apology. You'll stop saying sorry for your solitude. Stop hiding your sharpness. Stop pretending your knowing is too much. Because your intuition isn't overthinking. It's ancient accuracy. Your silence isn't weakness. It's depth. Your obsession with detail isn't neurotic. It's divine intelligence. The moment you say yes, you'll start living from your alignment, not your adaptation. Your gift is clarity. In a world lost in confusion, you bring stillness. Your power is purity, not perfection, but truth that hasn't been corrupted. And your time is now. You've spent lifetimes watching, waiting, witnessing the unraveling. Now you're here to help rebuild, not from ego, but from essence. And the fear that silenced you in 1233, it has no place in this lifetime, because back then they feared your voice. They feared what you might reveal, what you might dismantle. But now the world is starving for the very truth you carry. So say yes. Say yes to your sacred role. Say yes to your blueprint. Say yes to the mission your soul never forgot, even if your mind did. You weren't meant to be small. You weren't meant to be hidden. You were meant to rise. And when you do, Every locked door begins to open. Every buried scroll finds light again. Every suppressed part of you stands up and says, I remember who I am. Because this prophecy, it was never just about the past. It was about the moment you finally remembered it was yours. Virgo, you were not made for chaos. You were made to guide through it. You were not born to fit inside broken systems. You were born to rewrite them with grace, with clarity, with soul. The Virgin Star is not a myth. It's not a story. It's a soul contract, one that was signed long before this life. And now it's rising within you. You carry sacred memory, sacred precision, sacred purpose. So stop doubting, stop hiding, stop apologizing for your light. The prophecy they feared in 1233 is the one we need in 2025. And now that you've remembered, you can never go back to sleep. Comment below, I carry the Virgin Star. I awaken now, like this video if your soul has always felt ancient. Subscribe for more Virgo prophecies reborn from the ashes. Share this with a Virgo who needs to remember who they truly are.